You guys hear me? Could you guys please turn the volume on?
Can you hear us, Mark?
Now I can. Thank you very much.
Cindy and I don't know what Cindy, but Kimberly is in. Schedule the meeting.
Is nobody speaking or am I having a volume issue again? So I'm not hearing anything.
Going to go over a few key items there. We included a 2.4% COLA and a step. There's two additional youth correctional center employees. We increased the youth correctional center administrator from a 19 to a 21. We were given a 14 to 19% health insurance increase, so we included 19%. We added MPO to the contracted services of 15,000. We put in COLA for the commissioners at 2.4. We increased the state's attorney by 5%. And then the public safety retirement increased by 1.23%. And then in the general fund, we have a 25% intro. We left the highway at 10 mils. 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 10 was about it for, things that were included. Value of the mill is estimated at $410,141. And on the one sheet, it kind of has like what we can levy. I don't know if you guys had that from the other meeting, what we can levy for different levies. It has the costs of what the extra assessment center employees cost, plus the reclassification. And then it goes through all the general fund budgets and without the salaries and on what, if it increased or decreased. On last page, I just put in the things that they didn't decrease or else they increased. Capital improvement requests, that's all I received so far, so. Another thing too, we have the sheriff's building lease in the general fund. It's under the sheriff's budget, but we moved it now to the capital construction levy, so that's $519,000.
That's how the commission had, or previous commission had intended to fund that.
Where did the taxes go to? Where were they at? We have to pay taxes since releasing it.
For the county?
Sure.
Oh, yes,
Where's that at?
that would be in the sheriff's budget.
Okay, I'll find this. It was just the lease payment.
Questions, or if you want me to go through expenses?
Madam Chair, is it
Yeah.
okay? When Ms. Steele, she looked at some other funding options for benefits and she had sent that out.
Yep.
The other day, and I laid those in front of the commissioners. She could also walk through that, so the commissioners can hear
Yep.
some of the different ideas. But it's right.
Oh, you printed it out. I have it.
Okay.
So everybody heard the news from Pauline, and I mentioned it to others, that they're looking at the potential of a 14 to 19% increase in insurance premiums. So I put together some information because people are like, why so much? Part of why so much this year is because we've been very lucky in the past. So different things that are taken into consideration are the market dynamics. So rising healthcare costs, which is totally outside of our control. Especially things regarding new specialty drugs, the GLP-1s for weight loss, all kinds of pieces like that. That's kind of called medical inflation. Also, we've had an increased utilization of services in the last 3 years as our population ages and chronic conditions become more prevalent. There's a higher demand for medical care. Increased utilization directly translates to more claims by the insurers, leading to higher premiums. Market competition, one of the pieces that is very prevalent because of where we are, there are very limited vendors. If we were in a different part of the country, there would be a lot more people wanting to compete for our business. In this part of the country, it's very limited as to who will take on groups of our size. Also, basic broader economic conditions such as inflation, interest rates, We don't know what some of the tariffs that may be put in place may impact. Because some of the equipment, some of the medicines are not currently manufactured in the US, so there's no way to predict. The other piece is experience rating. So experience rating, insurance companies will analyze your group's historical medical claims, the losses over the past 3 years, and also compare to similar groups. So a risk assessment is a group with a history of higher than average claims will be deemed at higher risk, leading to a higher experience modification factor and consequently higher premiums. Think of it as your car insurance. If you drive your car and you don't get tickets, you don't get into any accidents, your premiums are less than somebody of the comparable age with the same car in the same state if they have multiple accidents. The other piece is demographics. So the age and health profile of a group's employees can play a significant role because an older population or workforce or one with a higher incidence of chronic conditions will likely see higher premiums. So with that, looking at our experience rate, the pieces that have been shared with our broker TIC, our experience rate is higher right now than it has been in the recent past. Also, because of our experience rate and the loss ratio, which means the amount of money that gets paid in for premiums versus how much the insurance company pays out, that right now going out to market to the limited vendors that we have is not necessarily going to be in our favor. So when I go to the second page of my handout, it talks about insurance premium information. We fund the 3 plans that we currently have at different rates. Meaning if you are on a single plan, the county pays 90% of the premium. If you are on Employee Plus Children or you are on a family plan, the county pays 82% of your premium. So our insurance broker broke out information assuming a 12, a 14, or a 19% premium increase. This is just based on what our current head count was. I believe it's probably May 1st for like how many people are single, how many are employee and children, and how many are family. So with that, you can see the differences between what we currently pay versus what it could look like in the following increase. So 4,215,000, approximately 4.2 million. If we do a 12%, it moves it up to 4.7 million. If we do 14%, it's 4.8. And if it's the full 19%, it's 5.0 million. Our broker is pushing back to Blue Cross and looking at really drilling down on specific claims. Is it a one-time claim? Is it a claim that will go on for a long period of time? So we're not sure where it's going to fall. We've been very lucky. There have been years where we've had 0. There are years where we've had 2%. And many times it's been under 10. So the fact that this year we're kind of getting hit with a much higher number is not unusual. So when I was speaking with the brokers, I said, what other things can we look at? Well, there's the potential that maybe we break out employee and spouse separate from employee or separate from family. So if we do that, there's a potential of some savings. The savings would come because when you break it out, it may push some people to say, you know what? If I have a single coverage on my plan and my spouse works for another employer and they have a single coverage on their plan, it may be cheaper for them to separate out, which in the long run is good for us. It's one less person on our plan. So it just kind of breaks out some of what it would look like. These are based on our 2025 numbers. We will not have 2026 numbers until October. So that's why this says it's illustrative only, because they were basing it, what would it look like at the potential of our 25 plan. The other piece that we talked about was adding a potential new plan. So there is a plan called Dakota Blue Ultra, where the primary coverage is through Ultra providers. You could still see providers that are not with Ultra. You would just have a higher percentage paid on your claim by Blue Cross if you used the Ultra, Dakota Blue Ultra plan. We could consider offering that. Typically, it is around a 15% less for a premium. Also, we would be looking at different deductibles, potential deductibles. And our current plan is tied to our health reimbursement arrangement, HRA. Ultra's Blue could be tied with an HSA or a health savings account. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So if we do this, we could have the traditional plan tied with the HRA and then offer this new plan at a lower premium and tie it with an HSA. So if we explore adding an HSA, the difference is with an HRA, at the end of the year, any money I don't spend in my HRA comes right back to the county. If I leave mid-year, whatever money I have not spent out of the HRA stays with the county. Typically, HRAs are funded at a slightly or at a higher level than an HSA, because with a health savings account, any money that's left, if I separate from the company or I retire at the end of the year, that money stays with me. So typically employers will put a smaller amount in there, knowing that that money, once it's put in, it's out the door. Also, the benefit of an HSA is, as an employee, I can also contribute. So I can put up to IRS limits, I can put money aside and have that money moving forward, and my HSA can go with it. So what we did was looked at what potential Dakota Blue Ultra plans we could put in place. The first one that came up was the Dakota Blue Ultra 3,300, meaning that's the deductible, 80% plan. So think about the way our plan, for those who've been here a while, the way our plan was before, where 80-20. So insurance paid 80, you paid 20. So it has lower premiums. The second option that they talked about was with a $5,000 deductible, 100% plan. So our current plan is a 3,300, 100%, meaning every cost goes towards your deductible. Once your deductible's met, the insurance company pays 100%. So that's why, even though you have a $5,000 deductible, it's a higher premium than a 3,300, but it's because the insurance company will be paying more. So when we think about a health savings account, as an example, we could put aside $600 a year for each employee. And it can be funded $50 per pay period. So if they leave mid-year, then it's only as much money as we put in. It's not front-loaded right now with a single plan with the HRA. January 1st, you have access to $2,100 in your HRA. Regardless of if that's the first day benefits are effective, you've got the full amount. So on page 4, it talks about our HRA contributions. So currently we do $2,100 for a single, $3,150 for a single plus dependent, and $4,200 for a family. It's based on the plan level. An option that was put out there by the broker would be, instead of looking at the plan level, make it a fair, consistent amount per employee. So the funding could be based on each employee getting the same amount, no matter what plan they're on. So that would provide a cost savings, but it also does shift the burden onto the employee. And any of these cost pieces that we look at, I just want people to be cognizant that the burden has to shift somewhere. So we could stay with $2,100 and give each employee $2,100, or we could give each employee $2,500. And in the long run, it would still save money because we wouldn't be doing the $3,150 or the $4,200. The other piece is we know there will be a deductible increase. Typically, it's $100 on a single plan. And that is an IRS driven, not insurance company and not county driven increase. Historically, we have put that at the back end, which means with our health reimbursement arrangement on a single plan, you pay the first $200, then you have access to $2,100, and then you pay the balance. Typically, we put it on the back end. One of the things that could be considered is keeping that at the front end. So then if it goes up $100, I have to pay $300 out of my pocket before I can access the $2,100 for the HRA. So before I go to my next least favorite subject of NB PERS, I don't know what questions people may have. It's kind of a lot of info, but it's hard to have concrete numbers because we don't have exactly what our premium increases will be until after the end of September, when our plan year for our experience rate closes. And our brokers are negotiating on our behalf to get it as low as possible.
Michelle, how many, obviously we have 254 employees that are participating in our healthcare option. How many employees do we have? And I don't mean an exact number, but how many employees? I'm assuming these are all full-time, is that correct?
Right, because you have to be full-time to be able to participate.
Okay, how many employees opt out of our insurance?
I can give you an estimate. Sent some numbers to Mr. Voigt. So now I just have to find them. All right. So as of July 1st, we had 304 full-time employees. And we have people who, this also can be a little bit, we do have some married couples. So with the 304, it's gonna look like they're counted twice. But they are on our plan, they're just on a family plan.
It's just an additional plan together.
Correct, that's what we're looking at, because it is a much more restrictive plan.
And obviously an HSA is more beneficial for some employees than an HRA because HSAs will allow childcare, other types of expenses that an HRA will not allow. So for families with children, it's very beneficial.
And the money stays with them. So, and we would be able to use the same vendor that we use to manage our HRA, would be able to handle an HSA.
And Jim, a couple questions. Are the zone people included in that 304? Okay, who pays their employer share of the premium?
So we get reimbursed salary and benefits.
Okay, so they're kind of a wash then. Okay. If we go the 19%, let's say it comes in at 14, where does that money go to then? Because we budgeted more, where does that end up at?
Whatever fund it's budgeted, like in the general fund.
Okay, so say if her department, HR, they were 19, it came 14, whatever, it's $2,000 they save, it stays in their budget?
It would stay in the general fund, yes.
Okay, but I mean,
I know last year, yeah, last
what I'm asking, does it stay in that department's budget? Or does it go to the cash reserves for the general fund as a whole?
Well, it depends on like if the veterans or highway that have their own funds.
Okay.
They budget for their health insurance. So it would stay in that fund.
Okay,
But
so
all the
then,
general funds-
so now they have more money in that fund than they need. So at the end of the year, where does that money go? And so next year, when you do the budget for them, you would give them less money because they take that extra money in that account and pay for that health
Right,
money.
they have it.
Okay, and it can't be used for anything other than the health. They can't go buy a widget with it. It has to stay in the health account. Pardon? No, but I'm saying if they have a budget and they need to go buy a $5,000 widget and they have $5,000 left over in a health account, and they take their money out of that and go buy the widget, or does the money that's in the health can only be used for health and it's stuck there?
That's the-
Okay, so you're saying right now,
Do a
To
budget
spend that
adjustment,
money.
yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Beardy, departments are not supposed to move money around in their line items. They are supposed to get commission approval. So what you're saying is, you're concerned that if this line item has extra cash in it, this and widget line item does not, you're concerned that they're taking line item A and putting it into the widget to all.
yeah, I'm just trying, so we lock it up and they have to come to commission
That is.
to unlock it. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. On the, I just want to make sure I got this right on the HSA. So if we were to go to that, you're saying the county would pay 50 per pay period for a total of 600, and then the employees can put on extra?
Additional, yes.
Okay, as opposed to doing the HRA where you're putting in the varying amounts.
Correct. If the varying amounts go in play the beginning of the year, or when someone is newly hired, once they become benefit eligible, then they get that amount funded. And another thing I can look at, I just didn't have time to get a response, is I can also look and talk to our vendor regarding the HRA to determine whether or not we have to front load it 100%, or if it could be broken out either by pay period or by quarter. I don't know. I don't have that answer yet because I haven't gotten a response.
Another question on your policies, your current policy versus the Ultra one. You know, most of them have like preferred provider, blah, 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 then they go the next stage, and the next stage, the more unpreferred you go, the more you pay. So on this, I would like to see a comparison before we would look at the shift is, but I don't have your policy, I don't know what you guys are paying, but if they didn't go to Ultra, then I'm assuming that's not gonna be considered an unpreferred provider, and they're gonna pay more to go there.
With the Dakota Blue, if you went to a Sanford provider, Essentia provider, the insurance company would be reimbursing at a lower rate
Right.
than if you go to.
So I'd like to see a comparison between the current ones and what, I'm just gonna call them unpreferred, they all have different names. I'd like to see a comparison between if they went out of provider, whatever the phrases they use, as opposed to this one, so I can just get an idea on where they're at as far as,
Like to compare our traditional Blue Cross that we have
right.
with the.
If they went out of,
Dakota.
because I know what I have no idea, because they all are gonna get different. So they went out of the provider.
Network.
Yeah, out of network, there you go, what they're paying on the current as opposed to what they're paying on the potential one.
I can send you that
Okay,
information.
that's
The
fine.
biggest thing is that the network on the traditional Blue
Okay,
is extremely broad.
Okay.
Where with Dakota, it's, if you're not in Ultra, you're not in network.
that's
So
what I need, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
And it's my understanding, Michelle, that the insurance that's traditionally offered right now, the Dakota Blue would be an additional policy
that's been the
option.
recommendation, not to
It would
replace.
be switching totally from one to the other.
Yeah,
That's my
that was the
Say
recommendation.
that one more time.
Recommendation would be, if I'm hired, I can either pick out of the traditional plan and pay more. Or I can.
Okay, so you're gonna give them up to the current employees, so we're not flipping 200 people, we are as new hire,
Giving them an option.
they have, okay,
Yep, and even an existing person, if we move to that plan design, January 1st of 2026, we may have people who say, you know what? I'm healthy, I never go to the doctor, I want to do the lower plan. They go there.
so this is not a replacement,
It's
this is an
additional.
additional option, okay, thank you.
Question on the HSA funding. It says 600 per year max. Funded at 50 per pay period. So the county only pays 600? So we'd be
That's been
done,
the
we'd be
recommendation.
done in June then. But
Well,
it says 50 per pay period, so I was just wondering.
I may have, my math might have been off.
Oh.
It should have been 50 per month.
Oh,
Sorry, it said pay period.
Oh, right there.
I was rewriting it about 4 times last week, so, sorry. Yeah, and that $600, the commission could decide on whatever dollar amount you want it to be. Maybe they wanted it to be $1,200, then it would be $50.
Also, I do think we should only have one amount. No matter which one we do, as opposed to,
You mean for the HRA?
yeah, whatever one, I think we should look
I
at
would
going
agree with
to
that.
one amount. Because it's not really, not a family benefit, it's an employee benefit. And I get there's more people, but, yeah, so I would like to see us go to one amount. We can decide the amount, but I'd like us to look at 1 versus 3 or whatever we're gonna do.
I would agree with. I think that's fair.
You ready for Andy Pers?
We are.
We love them.
Andy Pers is probably one of the more difficult things to explain.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Bob.
it's like, Bob, we're bonded over it.
I just had to say something.
Okay. So currently, the county picks up additional ND-PERS contributions for employees. The amount that the county picks up, that's additional, is different depending upon which plan you're in. So when you're looking at page 5, for those who have the document, sorry, The top talks about the mandatory contributions. So no matter what employer you are, the main plan, the main 20 plan, which just means you got hired after January 1st of 2020. Those two plans, no matter what, the employee is required to contribute 7%. If you are on the public safety plan as of 2025, the employee is required to pay 6%. If you are on the new DC 25 plan, the employee is required to pay 4%. So on the flip side, main plan, the employer has to pay 8.12% and 1.14% for the retiree health credit. Main 20, the employer has to pay 6.26% and no health credit. Public safety, the employer is required to, as of 2025, to pay 11.4% and the 1.14%. And in the DC 25, the employer is required to pay 5.26% with no health credit. But with the DC 25, there's also a matching option up to 3%. So just to kind of break it down a little, right now, on top of what's mandatory, what the county is doing is for both the main plan and the main 20 plan, the county is picking up an additional 5%. So the employee is only paying 2%. The public safety plan, the employee or the county is picking up an additional 3.5%, and the employee is only doing 2%. But the county has to pay an additional mandatory portion for the public safety. And then you get down to the DC 25 plan. The total county contribution depends on whether or not an employee puts in additional money. If they go up 1%, if they go up 2%, or the maximum of a 3% match. So it's a little confusing because the county has to pay more of the employee's portion to make sure they're paying at least as much as the main plan or the main 20 plan. So that's why you see if the employee puts in 1% match, they really aren't paying anything because the county has to pick it up. If they put in a 2% match, they're really not paying anything because the county's picking it up. And then the 3% match, they're putting in money, but the county is picking up part of it. The DC 25 plan is extremely complicated and it's hard to explain. I felt it was important to kind of see this. The decision the commission would need to consider is what level of funding at the top, what level of funding do you want to continue to pick up as far as, yes, there can be a change made if the commission chose to alter the amount that the county's paying in. We do have restrictions. We have to give 60 days written notice to get the plan changed with NDPERS. So if you made a decision to change this effective January 1, then we would have paperwork and things that we need to get out and communicate and sign and get to NDPERS. The county does pick up additional money. That has been done in the past in lieu of pay increases. So that's kind of a little bit of the historical piece. We don't have a lot of fringe benefits that we give to our employees. So we don't pay for their dental, we don't pay for their vision, we don't pay for, the zone employees have a tuition reimbursement piece that's through the state in their policies. They have the ability to do some tuition reimbursement, but the rest of us, other than our training budgets and being able to send someone to a class, we don't have tuition reimbursement. So when we're thinking about making changes to benefits, any change that we make is going to be fairly significant to our employees.
I got some questions. Okay, well, first of all, on a side note, I'm not looking creative, creating any new benefits. We're not gonna have money as well. We get to that part. I'm concerned, I have a question on this DC 2025 plan. Starting with the defined contribution. First one is 9.26, I get it. Okay, how could, if it's a 1% match, if the employee's contributing 0, how's that a 1% match?
Because let's say, we did not pick up any additional. If all of our employees only put in their portion and we put in ours and the county didn't do any pickup, then it would look very different. Then you'd see the 1% and the 2% and the 3%.
Yeah, I'm still not getting it. So was a deal made where they didn't have to put the 1 in and we gave them extra, or what? Because your math doesn't add up.
Right. So this is straight from PERS.
Okay,
We have, because we're doing matching and because of what we currently pick up,
okay.
they tell us what we have to do.
Okay, so the 1% match, it's 2% more, but it's not really a 1% match.
Right, because we have to pick up their portion.
And that's how the plan is set up at the state?
That's the legal requirement through the state, yes. Because if we didn't pick up anything extra,
Okay.
then the math would make sense. For lack of a better way of saying it, believe me.
So the 2% fake match, we're doing the same thing. And I'm honest with you, I am not getting this. So why are we doing this?
Because PERS told us we had to.
Okay, Tracy, you're back there? Okay, make a note on my legislative committee. Here's number 1. We're gonna look into this fake match stuff. Okay, there's more, no, I got a bunch at the end for you. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Is picking up on the prior plans that were established. So the main plan, the main 20 plan, the public safety plan, the county's absorbing a percentage of what ordinarily is the employee's responsibility. So here, ND PERS said, in order to be consistent across the board, the county must pick up that employee's responsibility, just like we've done on the other plan. So that's why it looks wonky, but it's maybe not the same with other counties that maybe don't pick up that employee share.
well, it's an unfunded mandate.
And
Because if we're not the same, these people are getting lower, which that's not an issue with me, but I mean, it's just, they just picked it out of the air and just decided to do it then. 'Cause I've never heard of a 1% match where there's no match.
But it's because the county is picking up, even on the other plans, there's an employee portion that's the employee's responsibility, and the employees here are not paying that portion.
I get what you're saying, but
But ND PERS changed, correct?
yeah,
Right.
So if I start a full-time job today, tomorrow for the county, and I work full-time for the county, and I want to go in to get some type of a retirement plan.
You still have to, if you're full-time, you're required to be on ND PERS. If you've never been on ND PERS before, you're required to be on the ND PERS DC 25 plan.
So I'm new and I've never been on a PERS plan before. This is my first time working in county government. I can't get the main plan, main 20, or the public safety.
Public safety, if you are hired at the correctional center.
Okay.
And you are the correctional center, being a correctional officer in training or as a sheriff's deputy, they can go automatically, starting August first, they will go automatically on the public safety plan.
So in other words, my assumption would be when they looked at what was already being offered, and then they're coming with new plans just for new employees that have no background in county government, then they try to find a way to balance it. That would be my assumption. Is that
And-
correct?
And the way they define it is in our, I'm not gonna talk about plans we don't have any part of with PERS. In our environment, we have two classes of employees. The first class of employees that we have according to PERS are public safety plan employees. They are their own plan. The other class includes Maine 20, and DC 25. We have to be willing, we have to pick up the same amount based on what the DC 25 people elect as extra, but we have to pick up the same amount, the same percentage for all three of
Well,
them.
follow-up question on that. Well, what employee in his right mind would get the defined contribution or the 1% match? Why wouldn't a minimum, every employee, they might want to put some in themselves, but if they don't put anything, do they all go on the 2% match?
So
Why would you go on 1 or 0? You're losing money that you don't have to pay for. Am I wrong?
this is the most complicated thing to explain to new
Yeah,
hires.
right, yeah, I'm with you.
Once they make it, they have 30 days from the day they're hired to make a decision, they can never change it.
Okay, so are we, I hate almost hate to say this, we're kind of, I hope we're telling everybody to take the 2% match then.
We're laying it all out and showing them the graphics and showing them the video from Andy Pers. But some people are like, yeah,
Okay, but
you can only.
a hint to everybody, tell everybody to take the 2%.
But as a new generation, a lot of the younger employees do not want more money taken out of their check. They're not worried about
You're not
retirement.
taking anything out of the check.
Well, but they're not worried. I mean, the less that is gonna come out of my check, because it's already that darn social security, and if I have to, well, what do I need healthcare for? I'm never gonna get sick. But I don't want more money taken out of my check because I need that money to cover my living expenses or whatever the case may be. The more cash they can put in their pocket, the better they think they are at that time. They don't do a lot of planning in the future for retirement and investment.
So the other piece that will change is in 2026, the public safety plans goes up. So right now, where the county is required to do 11.4 for public safety, starting January 1st, the county will be required to do 12.63.
Okay, I had that on my notes, so I want to make sure clear. So that 1.23% increase, we have no say in that?
We have no say in that, and it has to be the employer's portion. It is not.
I love how the state spends our money.
So, just so you know,
Okay, lots of,
Joe,
what a deal.
if the commission chose to lower the additional employer pickup, that just shifts that percentage back to the employee, because it still has to be
correct.
contributed.
It will shift it back to the employee, and then there will be requirements of notifications.
But we don't offer a lot of benefits from the
I'll
county
tell you,
comparatively.
I know, but good luck finding employers that are paying these kind of retirement. Be very thankful.
And the difference too is those of us on the main plans and the public safety plan, it's a defined benefit. So you can do the calculator, you can figure out how much your check is gonna be. The DC 25 plan is more, it's a defined contribution, so it's handled more like a 401k. So.
Madam Chair, is there anything on the health insurance options or the pension options Michelle presented that you'd like to see fully or Michelle work on or update.
No, but I'm interested to hear what the rest of the board would like to see. I know we need to look at different options, but
We want to look at different contribution levels for the HRA.
I would like the debate between HSA versus HRA,
So.
and I'd only like one amount paid.
Right, so the HSA and HRA, there's no way for us to take the HSA and attach it to our current plan.
Yeah.
So,
That's only that. Dakota
right,
Blue.
right. So that's why it would be to the Dakota Blue where we could save money both with an HSA and with an, the premium amount for anyone who chose that. But it would be a choice, not a mandate.
With the HRA, we could put a set amount and not have it different between single plus dependent and family.
And I will ask, once I get the answer about how often we can fund the HRA, I'll let you know.
yeah, I like the idea of having the same amount for everybody regardless.
And we don't budget 100% of the cost for the HRA because we don't have 100% utilization of the HRA. Remember, is it 70?
That's 70.
30% remains with the county.
Well,
Well,
Yeah.
amount.
right. We just say we're only gonna spend this, and then whatever isn't spent comes back to the county.
And so Commissioner Bierke, back to your question earlier, what's budgeted for and what is left over typically goes into cash carry for the next budget.
Bruce?
No, the last page of NDPERS was just that, public safety people, their plan is more expensive to us because of the new law.
Michelle, I was gonna ask you too, for the retiree health insurance credit, that should be in the county contribution, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
It is. in
Because
the
it says
county contribution.
13.12, but it's really 14.6, I believe.
Okay, yep.
Colleen, back to the spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet is updated by taking the sheriff office lease payment out of the general fund and into the mill. But do you want to just quickly highlight the different amounts that count against the cap?
So the items that are highlighted in yellow are what is included in the cap calculation worksheet. And then we, well, there's a whole formula we have to put in what was levied. And then we take off the ones that aren't required to be in the cap. So if you look at the bottom, there's two different calculations. And right now we are over the cap. So what's included in the budget right now is 31,971,561. And the first calculation is 29,390,563. And the second one is 30,542,291. So, and then I put the difference to the right of that, that we would have to cut to get to the cap.
Okay, so we're a while, we can talk about that now? Hear me? Okay, on the calculation number one, I'm just gonna round the numbers up to 2 so we would need to cut 2.6 million. Okay, and then number two is that, what's the difference between 1 and 2? Why is it different? Okay, so what changed? How did it, where does the 1.1 million go to get it down to 1.4?
This, I
Yeah. First calculation you take the dollars levied for the past 3 years. And then you take off, things that aren't in the cap, like the capital construction, garrison, the state fund. Any of the water resource boards come off. And then it calculates out your base year, so it's the highest of the last 3. The second calculation, you take the previous year levy, and then you add new property growth, less expired exemptions, and you remove property. And that gives you a net taxable value. There's a whole calculation, but that calculation is higher.
Okay, so why would anyone take the other? Once again, why would anyone take 1 versus 2? What's,
Well, one might be higher some years.
Okay.
If the higher.
so you say there's an option? You get to take 1 or 2.
You would take two.
I know, what I'm saying is, you would calculate it
Oh, yeah.
each year 2 different ways, and then you take the best way. Okay, now does that, the second one, does that include a 3% increase? Or is that just taking new growth in?
So it takes, it adds 3% times the adjusted year levy.
Okay, so then you're including an automatic tax increase then?
Yes. Plus the, yeah.
I'll repeat that for everyone. You're including an automatic tax. increase. But I'll get that. I just want to make sure I understood it.
Based on the calculations at the bottom, Colleen, is that including any, step increase plus the,
So this has everything that was included in the budget, the 2.4% COLA and the step. The increase in the public safety retirement, 2 additional juvenile employees, so everything that was, I guess I sent out an email, so everything on that email is included here. It would be the commissioner's COLA, the state's attorney increase. The 19% health insurance increase is also in there.
what would the cost be if there was no step? I mean, legally, we don't have to do a step,
Right.
correct?
Well, and I can run different calculations to want to see what it would be without a staff.
Because our cost of living adjustment,
And you have like a working,
Yeah.
what am I trying to say, spreadsheet that has what we can put adjustments in it, and then it.
but our cost of living adjustment is what the adjustment COLA was predicted at, correct?
2.4%.
Yeah, okay, but I'd be interested in seeing what changes with the option 2 or calculation 2 if the step increase didn't happen.
So it's on your email, Colleen?
Oh, yes, I did include, so I ran the numbers with just a 3% step. I did one with a 2.4 COLA, no step.
That's what I'd like to see, the
Yeah, and
2.4 COLA.
And then I also did a 2.4 COLA, no step, so.
I got that number.
Madam Chair, going back to the question, in the budget as presented, 2.4% COLA and the step, which equates to 3% for those employees eligible. 2 additional DIAC employees, and that's state driven. That's not coming from Ms. Spain, it's coming from the state. We re-examined Ms. Spain's job description, because it's been 3 years with the attendant care and shelter care. And the added responsibilities to, would move her from a 19 to a 21. I just haven't brought that to the board yet. 19% increase in health insurance. Metropolitan Planning Organization requested 15,000, Commissioner's COLA at 2.4%, State's Attorney at 5% increase, and then 1.23% in increase in public safety.
I got 2 pages whenever you're ready.
Gotta start somewhere, so let's hear.
Okay. I'll start with the budget side, then we'll get on the cuts. First of all, I'm hoping we're gonna have a meeting next Monday, because after she gets all this stuff, she's gonna have to rerun numbers. Get that information and then, well, whatever, just,
Yeah.
the point is, the earlier the week, the better, because she's then, after that meeting, you have to rerun all the numbers again to send out on Friday, so we have all weekend to look at it before we vote on the budget on Tuesday. So, front load that as much as we can in the front of the week, so she can get her work done, so, before we go to that, I'm hoping we'll pick a day and time for next week, towards the front of the week. Okay, can you tell me what percentage increase of revenue towards the mills came about because of new growth? Yeah, if we don't have it, that's fine. That goes on the list. Okay, and a side note, Ms. Watson, if I do something I can't do, let me know. All right? Colleen, you and Tom take notes.
Yes, sir.
Grace, I'll get you at the end. I got a list of unfunded mandates I want you to look into. Start looking. Okay, so I'll need new growth. What is the valuation increase? You take all the properties, right? There's 3 categories, and you should get an average, because we can only do average, right? So what's the average? What are we looking at for a valuation increase for Grand Forks County for this time?
Well, if we, leave our budget as is.
Yeah, based on what we have now.
Based on our $230,000 value. It's on this, one hand.
Okay, I got that. I got all my documents right here.
So, it would be a 5.0% or 5.8% increase.
The 5.08 one at the top.
Yeah, that's.
Okay. And then commercial and
And
ag.
that's doing the average, but the actual increase is what your taxes would go up. So it's highlighted in yellow.
Okay, but do we combine the residential, commercial and ag? Do we put all that in a pot and come out with a valuation increase for the county? Do we do that?
So.
Okay, that's the number I need, please. When I got you, I just want to make sure I have the right number.
Yes. Percent was the increase in the value of the mill.
So that's the valuation increase? 4.0,
That's estimated.
okay. So 4.4%, 4.04 value increase. So then we would need, when I get to that next week, we need a new growth number. I'll need that because I would take the new growth off. Anything above that, if you take it, then you're looking at a tax increase. New growth would be no tax increase. Currently, what are we collecting total, all category for mills? It's like 91.8 or something like that.
So 2025 budget is 91.55.
Okay, 91.55. Now, we collect 6 for the ambulance, which we have no control over. The senior is 1%, no control over. The state has 2 different, are they each 1%, 1 mil? Okay,
State tax.
okay. What's the soil projected for the next one next year? What are they, I know they had a healthy raise.
Will be 0.95 in 2026.
Okay, and the water resource district, what are they gonna be at?
The Water Resource Board was 2.28 in 2025, and it's projected at 2.13 in 2026.
2.13?
And then the joint water resource
Okay, I don't want the water board. I want the water resource district. Boy, I wish we could change the name there too.
1.41
Okay,
in 2025 and 1.48.
1.48. Now, I want to, get my trusty calculator, I want to, oh, for the record, Ms. Wamstead, you researched the water resource district. And according to the documents I have from you, we can, because someone signed an agreement, not only do we let them set their fee, we can't even opt out of it. It's a brilliant move. So we cannot tell them anything on what they want to do. The Water Resource District Board determines how much money they want to take, and they just take it up to the amount they're allowed to take in mills for a year. Am I missing anything?
Well, the joint, Red River Joint.
Yes.
Just
Yeah, because I read through the joint powers agreement, which we have no power, and then the email you sent out, and it says here that therefore it is within the discretion of the Red River Joint Water Resource District Board to determine the contributions of each member district. So in my world, that means they can do what they want up to the legal limit. They're allowed to do it, and we have no say in the matter. Okay, so my next question would be then, Ms. Morstead here. I've got my beloved 2024 property tax statement, and we break out soil conservation, state, garrison diversion. Why wouldn't we break out the water resource district and make that a separate line item, since we have no say in what they charge? Why wouldn't we make that a separate line item, since we have no control of it? Because the garrison diversion, state, soil conservation, those three we have no control over, and we list them separately. Can we do that? Okay.
So I can find out.
Okay, so unless, go ahead.
Here, members of the board, I think that's the state one. So I think the state dictates, Colleen might know better than I would, but I think it's.
Okay, two of you, can we find out? Because if somebody's gonna increase the taxes on the citizens, I want them to get full credit. Because otherwise it looks like we're raising taxes. So if the state says we can't do anything about it, that's point number 2, Grace. Okay, that should be broken out. They shouldn't be hiding what they're charging.
They look at the total though, what it says, Grand Forks County, they look at the total they have to pay and make an assumption that everything they're paying in taxes is going to the county.
That's exactly why I want it broken out, because it's making us look bad when they need to look bad. All right, so now I'm gonna do the numbers. I'm gonna do 91.55 minus 6 and 1, that's the ambulance and the senior. The reason why I'm breaking those out is the citizens voted to tax themselves forever an increase. So that's on them, we can't control it. And I'll be bringing forth the ballot measure to attempt to correct that for 2026, but right now we can't do it. The state has 2 mills off. 1.55 minus 6 minus 1 minus 2. The soil 0.95. .95, and then minus 1.48. So in the world of beer, which I know is very smallly populated, we have 80.12 mills that we have control of. And you can double check my math and bring that back, but I'm deleting the ambulance and the senior because we can't do anything about that. And then the 2 state, the soil, and the water resource district, they charge what they want, and we have no say in it. So we only control 80.12 mills that we can say we can do what we want with. All right. Now, because we haven't got all the numbers yet, if you said you've already budgeted a 3% increase into this, so 80.12 mils times 3%, that's 2.4 mils. side here. All right. And then you also have a mill increase in your of 3.92 mils, correct? Is that still in play?
It's 3.5 on the new sheet.
Okay, well, I got the old, so I'm gonna write that down. 3.5 now. So if we wanted to, I'm not gonna do all this today because I don't know the valuation, but if we wanted to keep it a non-tax increase, we'd have to cut like 6 mils. Of course, you say there's 2 ways of doing it. So I need you to figure out, you know, you have the 1 and the 2. Could you figure out a number for what it would be if we just had the new growth in there only and not have a tax increase? Does that make sense?
So do the cap.
Well, yeah, figure out what we would have to cut if we just take new growth only and don't take, right now you've got 3% in there. So if it's say new, I'm just gonna hypothetical. If the new growth is a 1, then it would change from 3% to 1%. So that number is gonna go higher. So once you get the valuation, I mean, the new growth valuation, then I'll know more. And I mean, you guys can decide, I don't do tax increases, but, I just want to give you guys the option to decide where we're going on this. Okay, so I have to wait for that sheet. On 12/31/2025, you have a closing cash reserve balance of 18 million. At the end of 2026, I'm gonna round off, we're at 12.2 million. So off the top of your head, do we know where the 6 million went? The 5.8 million? Because if it dropped, we spent it. So we're
Used it to
spending
buy
cash
down
reserve
the-
balance.
Use it to buy down the budget.
I know we did, so,
That's
but in 2026, we're doing it, I don't know what we're doing, but all I know is at the end of this year, we're gonna have 18 million. At the end of 26, we're gonna be down to 12. So 5.8 million is going somewhere. We're spending cash reserves to do something. So if we could find out what are we doing to spend that, I would like to know. I think I found the answer to this one. I was looking for the revenue of 2.62 million from the jail. The original one from Ms. Nelson before she left under capital projects levy, had the mill level at 9.76. Yours is at 5. So would I be safe in assuming that the 2.62 million is going to be going towards the capital projects levy?
Well, and actually, I moved sheriff's lease into the capital project, so now it's at 6.33. And then we did pay off, there was a portion of a bond that was paid off.
With the 2.62 million in revenue from the prisoners, I looked through the revenue and I couldn't find it on the blue book type stuff. So did we take that money and are we using it to pay down capital projects levy? Because she had us increasing that levy 4.76 mils, which is pretty close to 2.62 million. If I'm making
The
sense.
correctional center revenue stays in the general fund.
Well, it's got prisoner bonds by 2.1 million. Traditionally was, for a couple of years, was at 1.1, then it went to 2.1. But then if it's really normally 1.1 and we have 2.6, that's 3.7. The $2.62 million the state's gonna pay in our contract, once we start housing their inmates, where do I find that? Other than the mills for the bonds made a significant decrease. Did we take that money and are we gonna use it for capital projects? Is that why we dropped 4.76 mils? But this is an early projection.
Don't we have to use some of that money to pay the expenses of all those additional?
Well, I'm just trying to find, first I'm just trying to find where that money is. Yeah.
The commission had discussed taking that lease revenue that you're referring to, sir, and putting it towards the bond that we took out to build the addition. So you're correct, that was the commission's intent.
So is that, I just want to, because I couldn't find it. I just want to make sure it's accounted for. That revenue is somewhere in here.
Thank you for within there, because we haven't gotten it yet. Would it not be?
Well, no, but we're doing 2026 budget, so it should be in there. It should be listed.
So
Not sure what it is. Yeah, that's right.
state.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. That's all I'm saying. I can't find it.
I don't,
Well, this is the budget I entered that I
Commissioner Bierke, I don't think that's in this budget.
Okay, well, we're talking about cutting. If we're gonna have $2.6 million, we're gonna cut 1.4. That's gonna radically change what we're gonna do with the budget. So I gotta know where the money's at.
last budget was 1.1 million and in 2026. 2.1.
Right, but if it was 1.1 million in the past and we're getting 2.6 million in revenue, that 2.1, why isn't that 3.7?
Received from the correctional center.
Okay, so I'm confused. So that was some Debbie's here. So we need to have it because I have my page of budget cuts, my chainsaw. And so before I implement that and watch people's face go berserk, I don't want to do that if we really don't have to cut. Because I got my 3 million to cut. So, okay, so I don't want to go down that road and get everybody all fired up if I don't need to.
I don't think it's in there yet.
I do have a question. Sure, Schneider.
Maybe it is, but we still should be projecting ahead, you know. Under the revenue, I went through the revenue pile of papers. Oh, you took them. Yeah. Rusted. Under revenue, I went through all this whole folder. I could not find the money. I specifically went through the correction center. That's why I haven't marked it because it's the 2.1 million, I think. The 2.1 million I marked because I was confused. I wasn't sure where that was going. So, well, the point is, like I said, I don't want to start passing out the blood pressure medication if we don't have to. So,
Sheriff Schneider, we do have the expenses though for those prisoners coming in.
Yeah, we tried to account for those in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
So just if I may, a point of clarification, Commissioner Bierke, members of the board, the sheet that you're referring to, that was put together by Debbie
Right.
Nelson for. That's
Right.
not just pertaining to the jail, it's the bond on the dome
Right.
project. To a loan from the Bank of North Dakota on the correctional center, a bond on the correctional center addition, and then also calculated in there is the lease on the new sheriff's department. So all of those combined for the capital project.
right, which because I gotta find the paper, but one of the papers we got from Colleen had that mill levy at 5. That's why I thought maybe it got flipped over there and but well, I can't find the revenue. I'll just put it that way. You guys can find Waldo. So there's $2.62 million of projected revenue from the state for the jail. I cannot find. Sheriff?
Sure. Again, nothing is finalized with this
Right.
project with the state. But our last conversation we had regarding amount of beds, feasibility they would be able and willing to take would leave that revenue at 2.19 million.
Okay, so are they reducing the amount
60
we,
beds a day.
okay, so now we've negotiated in good faith. We shook hands and then, backing the bus up.
Well, that is due to a request of the sheriff for the needs of the county to keep the prisoners locked up that we have in our.
Okay, well, we voted for 72 beds. So if we're gonna change it, that should come back to the commission for a vote.
It all will, nothing is final. That's why I haven't proposed anything to the commission yet.
That's why there wouldn't be revenue yet, sir. So.
Okay, well, how do you do a budget if you don't have numbers? Because then I'll list the cuts. I'll start the bleeding if you want. But I can't make a decision. And whatever we vote for on August 5th, that can only go down. So in my world, I'm gonna chainsaw to be safe. So if it's normally 1.1 and it's 2.1, then it's only going up $1 million. So we're talking about projected loss of revenue of 1.5 million roughly, which is 60% of what we agreed to, a reduction of 60%. We're at 2.6 and we're going to $1 million. We're losing 1.6 million in revenue that we thought we were getting.
2.1.
Right?
2.1.
Yeah, but before we had,
2.1.
yeah, but we had 1.1 in the previous years, so I'm assuming that would carry over. So then that would leave us, we're only generating 1 million in new revenue. While we thought we were gonna get 2.6. Is my math off?
So,
Okay, explain.
because the drop is only a half, if we were to agree to retain those 12.
Okay, what happened to the 1.1 million we had been getting in previous years for people we had been into? Are we eliminating all those? Well, that's my point. And we should have 1.1 million and whatever number we pick to be a total. And I'm just saying if it's 1.1 and it's budgeted for 1, we're at 2.1, and I thought it was gonna be 3.7. So that's 1.6 million. Number 2 here is 1.5 million rounded off in cuts. You see the implications of this. That's why I said I don't want to start the heart attacks now if I don't have to. But all this has to be resolved by August 5th. And I guess we really better get on it next week because I'll stay to midnight on the 5th if I have to. Is my logic off in what I'm saying?
So Commissioner Bierke, if I'm following you correctly, sir, the original letter of intent was 72 beds at a certain rate. So we had a good estimate of what that revenue would bring in.
3.62 million.
My understanding now is it sound, and if you recall, Ms. Wamstead and I did not bring this home. So it sounds like now the beds are being reduced from 72 to 60. So until we know how many beds is going to be in that lease, we can't project the revenue until that's finalized.
Okay, the sheriff wants to drop it to 60. We have to have that presentation in the vote.
Until Ms. Morstead and I know which it is 72 beds or 60 beds. I mean, we could put in 60 beds for worst case scenario.
Okay,
We'd have a number.
Okay, then if we put in 60 beds, 12, 5, 6, we're reducing it by 1/6. So we're still, the 2.1 is still not enough. Because if we're taking 2.62 million by 1/6, it's roughly 16%, 320. 1.8, something like that.
So I'm looking at, you're referring to prisoner board payments. That's the 1.1. That is
Right.
not just inclusive of the state pen. That's ICE, Marshals,
Right.
Walsh County Trail, Steel, Nelson, everybody. That went up from 1.032 million to 1.1 million.
Right.
25. I don't have on this sheet what we projected for 26. But that will be all in addition to whatever the contract is, if or when it's signed with the state. That money is still coming in. That is in the budget. The lease you're referring to for the open additional beds is not in here to my knowledge, because nothing.
That's
At
correct.
the expense of that.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, because we can fill those beds without the state.
well, that's
I
my
can fill
point.
it tomorrow.
We have to have a number then, because if we don't have a number in that line item, then I'm taking the chainsaw out and make those recommendations, because I can't go on an assumption. I have to have a number. And I hope everybody's getting what I hope I'm making sense here. We gotta have a number by August 5th.
Madam Chair, what is Colleen, what is the cash carry forward budget right now? What's in cash carry forward? Dollar amount.
In the budget.
Yes. Well, what do we have today? What do we have in cash carry forward?
Well, the financial statement at the last meeting, you had 18 million rounded off.
So if we have 18 million in cash carry forwards. And we're looking at a deficit of 1.5 or 2.6, whichever calculation you use. Why wouldn't we use the 1.5 or the 2.6 out of cash carry? If we've got 18 million in there.
Reduce the interim fund. Right now, we have it set at 25%. I know in our audit, it says we go from 15 to 20. It's set at 25. And I looked back to 2020 and we've had it at 25. I looked back to 2015, it was at 15%. So that's up to you guys if you want.
It just, since we've got revenue sitting there. And if the calculations that we have in front of us would be accurate, and I know that there's different things we have to look at, I understand that. But if we've got $18 million sitting in cash carry forward, and we need 2.6 or 1.5 or whatever Terry said, with looking at just the 3% tax increase and not an increase to the citizen, why wouldn't we consider a significant portion of that deficit coming from a fund that's cash carry forward that's sitting there? So we're gonna tax people, or we're gonna cut programs, or we're gonna cut contracts, or cut insurance, or whatever, to come up with this 2 to 3 to potentially could be up to 4, I don't know, million, but we've got 18 million sitting there. It just doesn't make sense. I mean,
I mean,
if,
that's up to you guys if you want to.
yeah, as a taxpayer and representing taxpayers and citizens throughout this county, I think we need to have a discussion of taking some of that cash carry forward, some of that revenue. We have done it in the past. We have, I don't remember, quite honestly, a year that we haven't done it in my years of terms. Bob, you could maybe have a better.
No, we use it all the time.
We've used it all the time. I don't see where we have to take Terry's chainsaw out, instead of using a fund that's, and then not, maybe there may be a slight increase to the taxpayers because everything goes up. I get that. But, and as a taxpayer myself, my husband has eggplant, I know it's gone up. Just on valuation, that's the way it goes. But it just makes more sense, Madam Chair, to utilize some of that money.
Are they? I think probably the one that has. So often.
But as that savings account, if it regenerates year after year to a certain level, I can't tell you how to do that calculation for that. But it's not like I put the money in the savings account and I keep paying my credit card bill. If you continue to regenerate funds into that account, I'm not saying it's going to be the same dollar every time. I'm just saying that it's sitting there. I get it, but it doesn't make sense to me to do some major cuts on the citizens of this county to come to a budget amount when there's money sitting in an account that could be utilized. I'm not saying take the whole thing and spend it. I'm saying funds that would. Oh, no, never,
You know what I mean?
never.
But
And
the point is where-
I think the revenue is gonna be coming in. You know, whether we use that money or not, there's still gonna be the revenue. It's not projected yet. It's not even listed, it's going to be coming in. Yeah. So, I mean,
And if we took 50% from that real estate,
Madam Chair and Commissioners, as you talk about the cash carry forward balance, I'll just point out that it has, buying the SO building early has been discussed. And then remodeling the current yak has been discussed. So if the commission were to ever go through with some of those, you'd have to use cash. So my recommendation is subtract that right from the cash carry forward that Ms. Morstead has on document. Because I don't see where else the county would find the funds to purchase those things.
what's the cost of the remodel?
We do not know yet, ma'am. Mr. Cutting's still working that.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Okay, we're at 18 million this year. Already next year it's going to 12 million. What do we don't have 18 million.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, that's what her budget says. As of right now, it's projected. The cash reserves will be $12 million at the end of 2026. And I'm fundamentally opposed to taking reserve dollars for operational costs. That's bad, in my opinion. Bad budgeting. We have a minimum of $5 million sheriff building we gotta pay off.
Well, not
No.
right now. That has to be discussed.
Well, no, okay, I guess we could lease it for the second 5 years
Well, we
and
haven't-
lose even more
We
money.
haven't made that decision.
I know,
have
I know, that's what I'm saying.
we? Okay.
That needs to be in there. I mean, I get it. Some people like to spend money. I don't. The longer we wait to pay that building off, the worse it gets for the county. That guy is laughing all the way to the bank. The longer we wait to pay that off. Number two, Mr. West, I don't want to put you on too much, your professional opinion. In the 2027 draft tip amendment, there's a line item for repairing the intersection at the airport, 8 million federal, 1 million state, 1 million local. Who do you think the local is gonna be?
Union County,
We'll need to put that.
So there's a half, if we split it,
if it's a local share, the
Right.
city owns the north half, we own the south half.
because when I asked the question, I got didn't get an answer from them. But in your opinion, you think it'd be half? Not,
Half the local
not
share
right, half of the local share. Is that a fair budgeting thing to do now?
Based on
Pass.
the information that you're telling me now, yeah.
Okay, so there's 500,000 we gotta save. Okay, I keep hearing about this software to correct all these messes, and all I keep hearing is it's expensive. Well, to me, going out to eat at supper time is expensive. I gotta have a number. So I need to know from someone, if we bought all new software, so we get all this big stuff and get our payroll figured, what is that number? I need that number. So if somebody can get it to me. And Mr. Ford mentioned, not saying we're gonna do it, but if we were to remodel, I'd say if we were to remodel, we'll need that number, and that potentially could be in the 2026 capital improvements. We don't know yet. So I'm just saying, right there, I can write that down from Nick, this side, 500,000. We're looking ballpark 6 to 6.5 million. That's what guess. We'll find out when we get all the numbers. So we're going from 18 to 12. And we got 6 more million in here. If you read through, if you look at that sheriff's office lease, if we wait to the second 5 years, I assume we're gonna go out and borrow that money and pay it with interest. And we're gonna pay millions. This S at the end, millions more for that building than what it's worth. It is our financial interest to pay that building off as fast as we can. So I just want to throw that out here. About that, so. I got the numbers, I just want to make, could you, the 2.4, because some of that stuff you might have emailed today after I already left, I didn't see it. What is the 2.4% COLA? What is that number that's gonna cost us? I have one here, but I don't know if this is current or if you redid it.
88,812 would be the increase.
Okay, what would the step amount be?
Around 80,000.
Just the step 58,037.
Okay. Do we have a projection on the insurance increase and we'll stay at 19%? Do we know what that would cost us?
That's,
Well, I just want to make sure that she said she had sent some emails out. I might have missed it this morning. If we don't, next week's fine. So if I could get, what's the insurance gonna cost us, and then what the pension's is gonna cost us?
It's in your,
Yep.
it's in your sheet, right,
It's on
Michelle?
my sheet.
Yep.
It's on my sheet.
Okay,
she just
And
went
that's
over.
12, 14, or 19. Yeah. Based on.
Right
just a second, let me get-
It's right here.
I got it, here we go. All right,
It's 12, 14, and 19.
okay. Total. So it would be, say went to 19, I'm gonna round off. It'd be the 5 million as opposed to the 4.2 million? Okay, I can do the math. And then the, and the pension, I don't see a number on that. Can we get it?
So meaning what the public safety plan would
No,
increase?
all of them, if we did all this. If people get a raise, then the cost of pension goes up, because you gotta pay pension as a percentage of.
So
Is that in with those two numbers you gave me before, the step and COLA, is the pension in there, or is that just pay? Okay, that's what I needed. Okay. All right, I just want to verify, the parking ramp money that we collect, that goes into a separate fund, is that correct? And where would I find the amount that's in there right now?
It's Fund 2989, but I,
Would it be in my, one of these two books, revenue or expense?
not the cap.
Okay, I don't need it right now, just if you get that, and that money is locked into that account, and it can only be used for the ramp. Is that correct?
That's what it's set up for, I guess
Well, yeah, that's my point. So I guess the commission could dip into it, but they'd have to vote to do it. Right now, the ramp money only goes to the ramp, and it stays in that account unless the commission were to vote to take something out. Okay.
Take it out.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to make sure. Well, I wasn't here. I just want to make sure. Okay, also, when you do all this, could I get a list of the bonds we owe? I'd like the yearly payments, principal and interest, the interest rate, when is it paid off, and if there's a payoff penalty. And next week's fine. I also would request, especially from buildings and grounds, once again, back to how we spend our money, I believe we need to have a capital improvement plan for 6 years. I need to see 2027, 28, 29, 30, and 31. I need so 26 would be year one. I need a 6-year CIP, and that should flip every year. So in 27, it would go to 32. Because we have to look down the road on how we spend money, because we could have a major expenditure coming down the road. If we don't see it 6 years out, we can't start, because some of those we might choose to set money aside in a budget because we know, let's just pick a number. We got $1 million thingamajig we got to pay for 3 years from now. We might choose to take out money every year and set some aside so we don't have a massive payment all in 1 year. So I would like that, a 6-year CIP. I guess I can do, are there any new hires in the budget besides the YAC? No, okay. And as far as I'm concerned, the hiring freeze is continuing. Do we need to vote on that for next year? What do we need to do? Or is that our policy? Mr. Ford?
Commissioner Berkey, I'm glad you brought that up. I was planning to come back to the commission to discuss that. So the hiring freeze right now is added headcount or replacing the vacancy. It's a commission decision. In discussing that with Ms. Morstead and Ms. Thiel, I was going to come back and recommend to the commission that the hiring freeze continue only with added headcount. I think the department heads have shown in replacing vacancies that they have and are examining when those come open and they're doing due diligence, and it's budgeted for. That'd be my recommendation, sir.
Okay,
It's a policy decision, of course.
so if they want to hire somebody, that still would come before us anyway under those employee status, whatever she.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. So if
Under consent agenda.
yeah, Ms. Morstead has someone resign today. And if there wasn't any hiring freeze, she would ask Ms. Bershheim to post it, she'd fill it. A status of employee status sheet goes to you in the consent agenda.
Okay,
It'd be my recommendation to go back to that, but still have a hiring freeze on added headcount.
okay, so.
Yep.
We'll take care of that. I want to do that on a budget night though. Did we put 2 foremen in for the highway department? You want to wait a year? Okay. Okay, on the, on the inclement weather policy, where we're paying people extra money that don't work at a building to keep working at wherever they're working at. Did we ever decide what we're gonna do with that? Because I can't remember.
Commissioner Bearkey, you tasked me with, the board tasked me with revamping that policy. I've come up with a new draft. You haven't made a decision on it yet. There are some different questions that are with, I think there was Ms. Thiel and Ms. Wamstead at the moment regarding that exact question you're asking. I call it double pay. Is that if there's any tax implications to it. So it's being worked to eventually come back to the board.
Okay. I just want to double check based on your previous comments. So let's say a department has 50,000 in their personnel budget. That's going to go back to cash, that they can't use it for anything else. Okay, just wanted to verify that, sir. Okay. Okay, I think somewhat based on, because I don't have enough information yet. I believe all the departments should relook at their travel and furniture budgets. Frankly, if a chair doesn't break, we're not gonna, well, in my world, I think we need to look at the things we go to. And if it's a training thing that we need, then one person can go, but coalition of this, group of that, and convention of this, I think we need to look at that, and same with furniture. I get if something breaks, but we ixnay on the remodeling and just buying stuff now. Yeah, I'll show you on the heart attacks. I do think there's a couple I want to bring up, one potential heart attack. I want the next meeting, the sheriff to go through the Explorer versus Tahoe, lease versus cash payment debate. So if you could go through that next meeting and run the numbers on both, buying Explorers or Tahoes in cash as opposed to financing them. Also under the,
Renting.
whatever we're doing.
Yeah, we
leasing
don't
it,
find.
we're-
Rent.
No, we're
rent
paying the finance charge though on it, as opposed to paying
it.
cash.
Right, but it's a rental.
Okay, well. I'd like to have that discussion again. Gotta find the right document, just a second. Under the 2026 CIP, in the sheriff's department, they have records management. Now, if that's the record management that's tied to the state's attorney's office, if we do that, then the state's attorney has to hire another person. Because the sheriff's gonna do it, the PD's gonna do it, the UND PD's gonna do it. It's not gonna interface with her records. And so they're gonna have to take all that information and retransmit it to send it to the Attorney General and courts. Mr. Sheriff.
Yeah, I was put in last year capital improvements budget, because I like to plan ahead.
Right.
As you heard Mr. Phelan come to your county commission meeting and state that that project's being put on hold due to that point. I budgeted for it last year, tentatively to put in next year, because
Okay.
he was supposed to start it this year. Since that's not happening, that is not moving forward.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So we'll ixnay that. So that needs to come off the budget. Related to that, Gracie, if you want to, sure, before I get your massive list, Okay,
Just
stepped up just a second ago.
What is it?
Wow. Tell her she's gonna get back. I got a long list. Okay, I'll save it for later. Okay, now could be the heartburn. Here comes, we gotta take a look at this now. It's overdue. I want from the YAC, I want a list of your projected budget minus your revenue equals a number. If we ship all the people from Grand Forks County that we deal with, all of our people, the other people that are on their own, but all of our people, whatever that costs, then there's that money, that number. And then you take expenses minus revenue equals, I'll call it letter C. C minus D was what it would cost. That gives us a net. And we're gonna find out how much we could or couldn't save if we do or don't have it yet.
Doing a comparison.
Yes, analysis. As far as the state and their two people, tell them to take a hike, and we're not gonna do it. If you look at your revenue, the revenue for the shelter, I believe, is like 136,000. The two new people is gonna cost you more than your revenue alone, not counting the people we have currently working it. It's just another unfunded mandate. Tell the city if they want us to hire two more, they can pay for them. As far as I'm concerned, we should not hire these people. If we're gonna keep doing that attendant care, we'll just keep doing it. The state doesn't like it. They can notify us, they have a 30-day opt-out. They can send us a letter, and then we can close down shelter care and tell them to go explain to all the counties in the area why they're gonna ship them somewhere else. This is not a state facility. This is a Grand Forks County facility. If the state wants a state facility, then the state can take state dollars and pay for it. The counties, we should not be subsidizing this attendant care. I mean, it's absurd. They're requiring us, like I said, we'll pay more for these two people than we get in revenue. Not counting the people we have there working now. So, as far as I'm concerned, tell them they can initiate an opt-out if they want. Also, on a side note to that, to the sheriff, is it Captain Hill? What's your title? Okay. Could you ask Captain Hildy, A, are the YAC cells acceptable for inmates from your side? B, you want to say
If there was no juveniles in there.
correct, no juveniles. B, how many beds are there? C, just take the beds times 100. I know it's low, but I'm gonna try to lowball it. What does that equal to? Minus your, and the bid's expense would be your guards, your correctional deputies. If we did that, would we have to hire, and if so, how many? If she could do the best she can by next week. Okay, just because what I'm looking at here, I don't know, but let's just say we save X amount of money by closing the act, then we rent those beds out, we get X amount of revenue. That would equal a double savings. Expenses down, revenue up. I don't know what the numbers are until we do the math. I am not gonna go to the massive cuts. I'll save on those so we get better numbers. For as far as for the legislative committee, which Mr. Ford, I'm gonna request that we start meeting. We'll say 1st of November. Everybody the rest of the budget. That's you, Ms. Wamstead, Ms. Hagan, and myself. Is that correct?
And Ms. Morse, yes, sir.
And Ms. Morse. Okay. Gracie, you're back. You ready? Here we go. All right. The social services are charging us an indirect. This is an old number. An indirect cost of 1.275 million. That's where the state is making us spend money to provide services that they want us to provide. So that's low. I want to try and go after that. Due to Marcy's law, we're spending $275,000 of county money to meet that state requirement. I want to go after that. I want to have a discussion with Ms. Wamstead. Is the Veteran Service Office, that's mandated by Century Code? Is it, I believe?
Essential living and century code, I have to research it.
Okay. Okay, could you double, I think, but could you double check? I want you to say yes or no. Our Veteran Service Officer is basically an extension of the VA. All we're doing is, I won't say all, a massive amount of work we're doing is processing VA claims for people to then send it to the VA because the VA doesn't do their job. And so if this is mandated by the state and we're basically a VA office, and you got smaller counties who, we have 3 people. I'm sure there's a lot of counties that don't have 3 people. And we have a lot of veterans because of the base and whatnot retired here, or just get out and stay. I think that's something we gotta look into. This is a software issue, and the next one. Currently, the law enforcement, the state's attorney, the attorney general, and the courts are on a system. Clearly, it's out of date, because all the cop side of it saying it's out of date, and we can do better. So I think and the state provided that, it's time to get new software, and the state can pay for it just like they paid for it last time. So we need to go after that, which references to the fact, if we don't do that, eventually if we start doing that, we have to hire people to transcribe it, to get it into the lingo, to get it to the state, which doesn't make sense. Also, whoever can do this, if there are any fees we charge that are mandated by state code, can I get a list of those? No, Gracie wants a list of those. Because they should be putting fees in the state code, because I don't know, are they 50 years old? I don't know. We need to examine that. And then,
Are you talking about all the fees that we paid in the state?
no, like say the recorder fee, is that mandated by the state, what you can charge? Okay, and what is it? How much is it?
The recording fee,
Yeah, the fee, just the basic one, just,
$20,
okay, and how long has it been $20?
2007.
Okay. Almost a decade old. That's what happens when you write fees in the laws. Bad government. We need to look into that and try and get that changed. All of them. I don't know how many there are, but we need to look at that. And then, and you're gonna follow up, and he's gonna follow up on it, but when last time I checked, when businesses located on state property, they don't pay property tax. So you're talking the University of North Dakota. I got a list for you. And the Aerospace Foundation, if that's a 501c3, if they're gonna start developing an area and put businesses out with that ramp they wanna build,
The runway.
the runway, then are they paying taxes? So we gotta dig into that. But I know at UND, they've got private businesses in their, I call it an entrepreneur building. It's on the corner of University and 42nd. Yeah, I don't know what they call it. They got building people there. They got buildings and people in Memorial Union. On the gas station, as you're heading out of town on Demers, there's a gas station, a Cenex on this side. On the other side, there's a big building. There used to be a bunch of businesses in there. I don't know what's in there now. So we can look into that. But what they are getting is a 100% property tax exemption forever. If they locate in these buildings. And I don't know what other buildings they might have. So I think we need to address that. Basically, it's a tax shelter. And these people are getting the deal. And so they're not paying taxes. So I'd like to go after that. And I'll wait for, all right. Is Hagan in there? I cut my speech short. And that's it was uncalled for. Thank you.
Let's see, so did you get a clear direction on compensation? So for the next budget, do you want Ms. Morstead to continue with the steps and the COLA, just a step? Do you want us to pursue these other health insurance options as well, or so that Ms. Morstead can go back and update?
Questions that are kind of put together that eventually Colleen could come up with some numbers.
Okay.
So that then Mr. Bierke's got a concrete number to see.
I'm good with leaving the COLA and the steps with Arrow.
Still have that working spreadsheet too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the-
Yes, Ms. Morstead had emailed that out on the 1st of July, all those spreadsheets. The only one that's different is the one she handed out today, the spreadsheet that moved the sheriff's office lease payment.
Yeah, so she could just email that Friday before she leaves, and then we'd have the weekend to look at it. But what else did you do on Saturday night?
As of right now, no reductions for Ms. Morstead to,
No, because we got a massive one
We
point
need to figure out.
$5
where our
million,
revenue-
yeah, then we gotta figure the jail thing out.
the only concern I have for revenue is whatever we put in is just forecasted. If we're talking about the pod four, right? So Ms. Morstead could put in 60 beds at the agreed upon $100 a bed. But I'm also a firm believer in anything can happen between now and then. I mean, this whole, what, we could put it in there and you have that number of revenue. But worst case scenario, what if neither the state nor the county can agree and both walk away? And we budgeted for that revenue and now that revenue's not.
Well, the sheriff said he can fill the beds anyway. And the state is a low number, like states,
Yeah, he can.
we gave them a cheap price because
They
they,
gotta go out.
yeah, because it was guaranteed.
Down to their number, they should be paying more per bed. The reason they got that number is because they were getting so many beds.
But I'm just saying, as far as budget wise, if we can, do you want to go, let's go 60 beds, I'm fine with knocking 12 beds off to play it safe. But if he can fill the 60 beds anyway, the state price, that's lower than anybody else. We're gonna get more than that. See what I'm saying?
They do.
US Marshals paid more than $100 a day.
I think everyone pays more than, because the state normal rate's more than $100, isn't it?
We just state normal rates of 105.
Yeah, so we're, that number's a low ball, so I think we ought to budget for 60 beds. And what if then, and add it to the. So we would take the 1.1 million and take the 60 beds at 100, do that math, and that would be the new prisoner bond. And then,
2.19 billion.
2.19 million.
plus the 1.1.
Yes, sir. You're looking at four.
That's.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would give us, so that's the number we could go off, and we'd be safe that budgeting that.
They're comfortable with the 2.19.
Well, I'm comfortable with 60 beds at $100 because that's the low ball. Plus the normal 1.1 million. Yeah.
Sure, can I ask a question, Sheriff Schneider? Sheriff Schneider, is there any way to do a guesstimate, and it's purely a guesstimate? What if we didn't contract with the state of North Dakota? What if we can't get to any agreement or whatever? You did make a statement that you could fill those beds tomorrow. Would you ever be able to do a guesstimate on what kind of revenue you'd be bringing in with those beds being filled by just the county and the other contracts that you could get? Would that be possible?
So we don't get any revenue for housing county inmates.
Right.
But if we contracted with the US Marshals or ICE, well, we have existing contracts. If we opened up more beds for them to bring people, it would be at their current rate. So it would be very similar to what the state's doing right now. And that's, I mean, we just need a little bit of breathing room, in my belief, with the amount of beds we have available for local prisoners. We're working on shuffling people in and out as fast as we can, especially females, because we don't have rooms to house them. We're currently housing females in a unit where we had to put white paper on the windows because it's a male pod and we wanted to put more females. USCR just did an inspection and made sure that we were housing everybody properly. So we're currently, we're still stressed to the max with how many people we have in there. We're still waiting for approval to open up the doors in pod 4, plus making sure we have the staff to run that pod. Just another comment on going from 72 to 60 in our negotiations with the state. They were ordered actually to make a budget cut. USCR was, and one place they felt like they could was going from 4 staff in the Grand Forks unit to 3 staff. So they weren't as shaken up when I asked if there's any way we could get a few extra beds out of their contract. They dropped their staff by 1. They felt that it was fairly feasible. Again, it's all still in negotiation. We have brought nothing to you. So
That's the reason why we built the county correctional center and increased it, wasn't to have empty beds. It was to fill with the existing need with us.
that's part of the equation that we're trying to figure out, is really building, how are we gonna pay for it? That was one of the solutions, was to.
I would just make just two more quick comments if I can on Bierke's budget. I call it that. Yeah.
I said back on the heart attack. I thought one more page ago.
With potentially converting the YAC to an adult correctional center. That would then mandate the sheriff's office to transport juvenile inmates back and forth to court hearings, et cetera. And that means we would be driving to either Minot or Moorhead to pick these kids up and bring them back. So I would need at least two, what's that?
Bismarck also.
Right, but more than likely Minot or Moorhead. So we would probably need 3 additional staff plus additional vehicles that we're gonna lease and not buy, and I'll tell you that next. To transport them back, you're looking at, I don't know what the number is, but I know Miss Olson in my office does if you want her to get that for you.
Yep, it's a number.
We've already looked at Explorers versus Tahoes, that's where we're driving Tahoes. Right now to do a swap over, you're looking at equipment and units. We'll save maybe, actually, I could check with the chief deputy. Explorer prices are creeping up to the same as the Tahoe price. And the equipment is not compatible between the two. So we would be looking at probably close to $110,000 to $120,000 to outfit a new vehicle if we went to an Explorer versus our current plan. We swap the Tahoes out with the body styles before they expire and update to new ones. Try to get 2 upfits or 2 uses out of each cage, each front push bumper, each light bar, etc. With our timing, so an upfit costs about $12,000, oh no, $7,000 if we're able to swap out the equipment. It's over 20 if we don't. So we're trying to save money savings out of there. We do have the numbers for cash versus renting, comparisons with maintenance, etc. It's not even close. I can bring you that sheet Monday, whenever you want it. I'll email it to you if you want. It's already done.
Give it to everybody. Yeah, I read that. I want to see where leasing is better than buying. Sure. All right, yeah, so bring all that, yeah, bring it all. Also, real quick, Chairman, I'm okay with the COLA and the staff. I'm not voting to hire two, no matter what we do, I'm not voting to hire 2 YAC employees till the states take a hike. I already told the MPO that we're not gonna give him 15,000, Mr. Ford, so you can delete that out of the budget. So that's gone. I'm not taking the 2.4% COLA. I guess the rest of you can vote on it, but I'm not taking it. I believe the state's attorney can get what everyone else gets, whatever that is. And I just want to double check on the public safety retirement. So you said the 1.23, we have to pay the full share, is that what you said? Okay. Okay, thank you.
About the top part.
Yeah.
Sorry for my tardiness, but
Well, sure, I'll keep talking. So regarding the purchase of the new sheriff's office facility, I believe it might have been prior to Mr. Bierke being on the board, but the board's request was for a 10-year lease. The contractor, Mr. Hubner, did agree to a 10-year lease, but he provided us an option to buy out at 5. So he's the only one that provided that option. As far as an early buyout, sure, but good luck. I don't see that being anything less than 60 times our monthly payment plus 5 million, plus penalties he would pay on his loans. And he holds all the cards,
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it happened before I got here. You got that right. But I still think I'm going to ask him. Let him go on the record. That's what he wants. Which is why it's so critical to have the 5 million saved up at the end of the 5 years.
I just have an answer, Commissioner Beard, to members of the board. The question was posed regarding the Veteran Service Office. I was able to locate a statute that provides that the Board of County Commissioners of each county shall appoint, employ, and pay either a full-time or part-time veteran service officer to serve that county. So yes, it is a state mandate.
And we have 3 people there, just so everyone knows. Doing VA's work.
Great.
Now you want to have my opinion, but go. Oh, we got a good time next week, day and time.
Yes, I think we're good. I feel like we have clear, decisive things that you were supposed to
Gonna
do.
wait the poll and stuff.
Yeah.
and Increase the prisoner board revenue, take the MPO out, take the COLA off for the commissioners, and that was everything.
Well, I'm good for taking it, except the other 4, but I
We
don't,
did last time too.
I don't want to raise.
We did last time.
Okay, so what are we doing for next week? Anybody have any-
So the availability, Monday isn't an option, correct? Is Tuesday or Wednesday? I can do anything on Tuesday or Wednesday.
I'm good either one.
Tuesday, earlier the better, Tuesday at 1 o'clock?
Yep.
29th.
Tuesday 1.
I need to confuse, I mean, you're more than welcome to come. That's why I asked for people's input and discussion, because again, this is your guys' budget and I'm making my decisions, but I love it.
anything that you need to discuss. Not be here because I'm better, more useful in my office. Do you have anything that you'd like to discuss with my office now so that I can?
So Miscaditis, something that I wanted to point out, thank you. There was a couple of other legislative changes, so you'll notice Miscaditis budget did have to increase. That's not because she wanted to increase it, that was a legislative change that requires her to send out more information to constituents. I wanted to point that out, that wasn't, she had no choice but to increase that line
Give that
item.
one to Gracie
Yeah.
too. Give that one to Gracie too.
I think, we're all done, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, just saying, do we have some kind of special event permit or something? Is it?
Oh, yeah, I don't have a, I just realized I don't have like a agenda.
I want to come back tomorrow for a 3-minute meeting.
Oh, I want to check with that. Yeah, because it's the meeting rather than, but. Then
Oh,
we'll.
it didn't show up. Okay.
Or 3-minute meeting.
No. They didn't bring it in, you know what? On them now.
I don't, I asked for an motion, but nobody gave it.
Second.